What's going on, everyone? It is Mike back again with Mr. Ian Mills from Across the Park podcast. And we're going to go through yesterday's game in fine detail. We're going to cut through all of the positive stuff that happened last night, all of the sensational defending, and more importantly as well, the fantastic goal-scoring opportunities that we created against a Burnley side. And I'm going to mention one player from each team, actually, that really stood out for me. So we'll talk about that during the stream, but let's just get into it. Millsy, how are you, sir?
I've been better. But, you know, it is what it is. I've brought my companion here tonight I think I'll probably need it. If anyone's watching this and you're not teetotal, then I'd suggest you maybe go and get a nice cold beverage yourself and sit down and feel even worse, because this is, I've said to Mike, this is my therapy session. It's become, I should be paying Mike. Mike should be taking money each month from my bank account to speak to me and calm me down. And I'm smiling. If I didn't smile, I would certainly be outside that ground with holy water and trying everything. But because I just, after last night, Mike, and I've watched your instant reaction last night, which I thought, excuse me, was powerful and passionate as always, and it made lots and lots of sense. I'm with you. I just think now, and I've thought it for a while, and maybe you'll disagree, but I think sometimes we just say we're fucked. I'm in the hope that, you know, we're not, and it's instant. I honestly, genuinely now believe with the fixtures that Burnley have against Norwich and Watford, and even if Burnley don't beat Watford and Watford beat Burnley, that still kills us alongside what's coming up for us. I just don't see now how that team get out of this mess. That last night was like, that was the chance. That was the chance to say, look, we're shit, but we're not this shit. We'll put a little buffer here. And yes, we might get beat against Chelsea. Liverpool will beat us. Leicester may beat us. Manchester United may beat us. But you guys have got tough games as well. We're going to put a buffer. And then we'll see Watford in a few weeks' time. We'll do another buffer. And we will just get over the line. That went with last night for me. And now I am on the verge of just accepting that we're done. And I do not see how this team got out of it. I don't.
I mean, it was really hard for me last night because I said this to John earlier. I spoke to John on the phone. John said to me, he was like, do you know, if we go down, I almost expect it because of the shambolic running of the club and the way that the players are on the pitch. John's been he's sort of felt this was coming for years. And to be fair, so have I. You know, there's been a couple of moments, but I felt with like the running of the club, I felt like there was only one trajectory we were going, and that was unfortunately down. And last night was the worst I've ever felt after a football game. I didn't sleep. I'm broken.
Did you see the away ends and the fans were just, even the fans in the away ends were just, God loved them. And I've said this on the show, and you've said it, God love you guys who travel and watch that team. And I could hear you last night, but like the away ends, they looked in shock.
But they were right to be, wasn't they? You know, you go in 2-1 at half time against a Burnley side that hasn't scored 3 goals this season, like in terms of one game. I think they only did it once or twice last season. You know, it was an opportunity for Everton yesterday to get that buffer and just reassure some of us that maybe we'll stay up. Look, I said to you, and I was very honest, and I've made this point abundantly clear tons of times. But when we didn't beat Wolves at home, That was the game. I said at that point we are going down because I 100% believed that week we needed 6 points. And I've stood by that. I have literally said that the whole time. Last night was an opportunity to give us just a moment, just that chance of needing one of them sneaky 3 points from someone you don't expect for us to stay up. I.e., a Brentford at Chelsea 4-1 getting 3 points, a Leeds at Wolves a 3-2. Just a game where Everton don't fall apart, don't bottle it, and they perform and get a result. And what we have seen in the last 2 games, in my opinion, is not a case of Everton getting played by either team. I do not think Burnley outplayed Everton last night. But what I do think they did was jump on the individual mistakes, just like West Ham did. And for that to happen speaks volumes about where we are as a football club.
Yeah, and what they did do last night is something that we've not done for a long time. Now, okay, fair enough. This week, Sunday and Wednesday, we have done it. For a long time, we haven't done this. They stayed in the game. They went 2-1 down and had a manager who said to them, don't give up. Don't give up. And his comments were, this lot can't win away from home. I don't care about that comment, really, but the fact, what I'm trying to say is, they stayed in the game. This wasn't an Everton 2, Watford 5 game. This wasn't a Wolves 2-0 up in 20 minutes, a Norwich 2-0 up in 20 minutes. This is a team who were experienced in what they were doing, and they went behind, and they had cool heads, and they said, okay, there's more time in this game. There was a 20-minute spell in the second half at 2-1 and 2-2, where I was watching us going, just score, because you're doing everything but. You're playing really well. You're winning the ball. Mm-hmm. You look like you care. We're attacking. They are pegged back. And they still stayed in the game and weathered it and went and won the game. And that's where we are now. We're against teams. And Watford, and I've seen some tweets saying that Watford are a team who yo-yo, and they've got Roy Hodgson now. And again, that's someone who knows how to navigate through waters down here. Me, as a fan, I don't know how to do it. I don't know whether you do, Mike. I don't think any of the players do. This manager certainly doesn't. It's all going against us.
Yeah. And when you watch that game back, and when you look at the performances, you've literally just touched on it. There was a few moments in that game where you could argue Everton had them pegged back in their own 18-yard box, delivering crosses, ball over the top, passes into players like Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. That was, instead of it being in front of them, it was always slightly behind them, which meant Burnley could always get back into shape. And I wanted to talk about 2 individuals from last night. One was Richarlison, who at times has had his critics this season, me included. I certainly don't think a return of 6 goals is enough for a player that is valued at 50 million. But I can definitely argue with anyone that will say to me he didn't care, because he absolutely did last night. He showed it for 90 minutes, in my opinion. He ran his socks off. And I can't say that about many of the others in the Everton team after last night. I really can't. I felt like he really, really tried. I felt like his penalties were nice and composed. And I was happy with his performance. And he was unlucky not to get a hat-trick. But then I look at the Burnley side, and how monumental was James Tarkowski from them last night. How solid was he? And that is what is stopping Everton winning games of football, the defence. And James Tarkowski last night was sensational. The amount of blocks he put in, the amount of times he could follow someone down the line. He even started the move that caused the 3rd goal by turning Calvert-Lewin. It's really scary if these are the players that are looking monumental, and we're paying £30 million for our centre halves, etc. It's scary how far we've really fallen.
Well, again, you're going back to the know-how and the experience. Make no bones about it, and this may offend a lot of Evertonians, and I get why it will. Burnley, as a club last night, as a fan base, as a coaching staff, as a group of players, would have been so happy to play us last night. You could see in the first 10, 15 minutes how up for it they were. And the manager came out at half-time and he's kept them in the game. Their crowd were really loud. The crowd were up for it. They were trying to boo us on the ball, all that sort of stuff. It was a huge game for them. It's the know-how again. And Tarkowski is a great example of the know-how. He's helped keep Burnley up for how many seasons now? They've been back up since, 2017, was it? 16, 17?
Like that,
he came back up. Excuse me. And every season since then, which is 5 or 6 seasons, they've had the know-how and they've had the character to just navigate through. Now, Burnley fans will not expect, and there could be Burnley fans watching this, and if I offend you, I don't mean to, they don't expect their team to do a lot more than get some good wins and good moments in the season and stay in the Premier League. And that's just what they're about. And we're in a position now where we don't know what to do. As a fan, again, I've said earlier in the show, I don't know how to approach Saturday now. I don't know. Last night I was saying someone could have my ticket. Now I think I've got to turn up and do something. I'm lost. The manager seems lost. The players seem lost. It's like nobody has a clue. Nobody has a clue how to get us out of this situation. Burnley, Watford, James Tarkowski, an example. They do know how, and it shows on the pitch. And you saying his name and pointing him out is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, and that's my issue. Like that is my issue, and you've been spot on. And we've said this for ages. As soon as Burnley got their first win this season, a lot of people said they'll get out of this. They'll get out of this mess. They were rock bottom at one point, and everyone started saying they'll get out of it. Sean Dyche knows what he's doing, and he made the right substitutions at the right times last night, and he got a result. You know, the defending from Everton wasn't great. It was abundantly obvious it wasn't great. Kenny got. I'm not going to overgo into players. Like, what's the point? They already know. They've heard it. They heard my match reaction last night. But Kenny proved he isn't a Premier League footballer last night. 100%. Like that is how on the second goal or the third goal, sorry, whatever goal it was, he decides to get right up into the winger. And he gets turned, leaving himself with a 20-yard run with the guy light years ahead of him for a really easy ball into the box for Iwobi, who was playing as a centre midfielder last night, not to track his man, for Decore to be nowhere near him, and for the defenders to all have ran into the 6-yard box, leaving probably the best part 5, 6, 7 yards of complete space around them twice. The second goal and the third, albeit the setup was different. The way that the ball came across the box, it was exactly the same spot pretty much. And there wasn't an Everton player there to stop it. You know, we all know individual mistakes. We've had an Iwobi mistake the weekend. We've had his defending, which is absolutely horrendous. His decision-making as a defensive player is shocking. So, you know, I just can't condone that. Godfrey, I felt he put loads of effort in last night, and then it just completely falls apart when he makes a mistake. And he makes an absolutely schoolboy error. You know, how he hits his left foot, having missed it with his right, is scandalous. Absolutely scandalous. He's shocking. And we're making our own mistakes. And now we go into these games. Manchester United, prime example. I go into these games not worried that we're going to be out-battled. I don't worry that we'll be out-fought. The fans will be quiet and down. I worry about the individual errors we make. And I expect to make them. And that, we've conceded 9, but you could argue 11 after last night. Individual mistake goals that's cost us how many points?
But what happens is, and this goes back to what we've both said on this show a number of times in relation to character. What happens is when an individual makes a mistake and there's danger, the team go to bits. They don't. There's not one person there who. And look, I've not played football at a high level, so it's easier said than done. But there doesn't seem to be anybody to say, like, get in shape. We're okay. You get over there. They just all seem like headless chickens. As soon as Kenny made that mistake last night, and as soon as Godfrey for the third one couldn't clear it, there was just anxiety everywhere. There was not one person on there who could take control of it. And sometimes you might need this nasty centre half or a nasty centre midfielder or even a nasty goalkeeper just to sort everyone out. And that goes down to character for me. You can't keep getting punished by every single individual mistake and blame that individual. Nobody, including Everton Football Club, are that unlucky. It's everything that follows that mistake. It's the shape, it's the anxiety, it's the panic. Every time there's a mistake, the whole team go to pieces. It's confidence, it's character. There's so many things that are so disjointed with this team, and you could go really deep into why this team are the way they are. You could go really deep into ownership and recruitment and management. We are where we are at the moment. We're trying to just somehow survive in the Premier League. And there's lots of things that just tell me that we're not going to, and that's one of them. Character. We just haven't got it.
Let's talk about speculation today. So, a few people have said today that Frank Lampard could potentially be sacked today. That hasn't happened. People have said that Farhad Moshiri was flying in as if it's potentially really dangerous. It might just be that he's flying in for the Man United game, but whatever.
It's Jim White announced it on TalkSport, so that just then got.
Yeah. So what is just be straight. What's your take on Lampard and the situation and his performances in his games?
He's arguably the right man for a team that have a project and a safe. And you say, look, our identity and our playing style has been wrong for a long time. Do you want to come in and try and fix this? And I hate saying this because we're relying on him. He's very, very obviously now so inexperienced that we need. He's never done this before. And that's what I go back to the fans, the players, and the manager, the coaching staff, apart from Paul Clement and maybe Duncan to an extent. They've not been here. So when you bring Frank Lampard in, albeit too late in January, and albeit amongst fan protests where it's really, really hard to then go and get an unpopular name, whether that be an Allardyce figure or Allardyce himself, during that time of appointing Lampard, it was impossible for the board not to listen to what was happening and try and pacify certain groups.
Yeah.
I just think he's out of his depth. I think he's throwing that much shit at the ball. He looks lost. He looks aged already. He looks hurt. And I'm glad he looks hurt. And I'm glad he's starting to call characters and players out that, we've waited a long time for. But we need these players to be called out when they drop from 4th to 8th because they've lost 3 games in a bounce, not when we're so far down. I think it would be really, really harsh at this moment in time to get rid of him. I think if that happened, then what that says to me is that is a board of directors and an owner who know that if we go down, we are absolutely doomed. Now, you don't do that. If there's a contingency plan and you've somehow weathered in the fact that Everton may go down before the stadium and there's a plan and we'll be okay, that it's all set in stone, which very, very obviously it's not, because we can't even plan to fucking be in the Premier League without being £300 million into the red and getting lawsuits and threatened lawsuits and FFP stuff. But if that was the plan, then you'd stay with him and you'd say, okay, the plans, we're okay for now. He'll bring us back up and we'll start the new stadium with a new team and we'll be okay. So if they get rid of him now, the club is fucked. And that's what it says to me. The club is absolutely goosed because that club is now throwing something else at the wall. It's doing everything. You don't bring someone in at the end of January and bin them in the beginning of April if the consequences of keeping them aren't that dire. Yeah. So, and I don't know the ins and outs, but it reads to me that if that happens, that's where we are, and it terrifies me. It absolutely terrifies me. What about you?
Yeah. So I was going to do a video about this and on what it means for Everton if they go down, but I will just touch on a few things here. And I'm not going to. I haven't researched any of this yet, so bear with me. But Everton obviously do not comply with the 3-year, £105 million loss threshold that the Premier League has. Everton have been in negotiations with the Premier League for nigh on 2 years now, and the threats of lawsuits. Although be it paper talk, it wouldn't surprise me if we stayed up and say a Burnley didn't, because I'm pretty sure they'd be aggrieved, albeit our squad is shit, even though we've spent so much money. So you have that, and we stay up, and we may not spend lots of money in the summer. We may get rid of a Calvert-Lewin type figure in the Everton team, and we may try and progress, maybe bring in another, cheaper players and try and mould ourselves back into sort of something of a sort of David Boyz type. Players need to prove themselves, come to Everton and go and do that, which as we've seen, can work in some positive instances at the start of the season. Andros Townsend and Amari Gray worked well at the start, maybe not so much now. Or you can have the other side, and I'm not going to throw any names, a shade under here, but say a Donny van der Beek or a Dele Alli or an El Ghazi who have got a point to prove, but have been unable to prove it for whatever reason. And that's not me throwing any shade at them. So there's that. And we stay up just about, and we go into this new stadium, and we whatever, and the future's brighter. We go down. The EFL rules on financial fair play are stricter. They're tougher. There will be points deductions, albeit we haven't made those losses in the Premier League. We all of a sudden have to comply with the EFL losses next season, which, to put this in layman's terms, Everton currently have the 6th highest wage bill in the Premier League, which is 77 million, something like that. And what this means fundamentally is there is absolutely no way that Everton can comply with financial fair play in that league, simply because of the stuff we'd be carrying down with us from the Premier League. And what also happens is our best assets get picked off at a low rate, i.e. a Jordan Pickford. I would argue that he is probably undisputed at this point, England number one. Not because Ramsdale's not good, not because Fraser or whoever you want to throw in there isn't good, but simply because he turns up for England. England, as a nation, is not going to want their number one goalkeeper in the Championship. Our number one goalkeeper isn't going to want to be in the Championship. So all of a sudden, he's gone. And you're probably getting less than you paid for him. You're probably getting 20 mil. You've got Ben Godfrey. He's a saleable asset. You're probably not going to... You probably get 20 mil. You probably wipe your face with Ben. You lose Mina, 10 million because of his injuries. Max.
If that. Or a loan. And
yeah.
That's,
yeah. You lose Richarlison, cut price, 40 million. Calvert-Lewin, cut price, 35, 40 million. So we bring all of this money into the club, and that reduces this burden, this financial burden, reduces the wage bill. We already know we've got some bigger players coming off the wage bill as well. But what that is leaving us with is players that don't have relegation clauses in their contract, who aren't good enough, possibly even for the Championship. These Michael Keanes, who I am done with. I am absolutely categorically done with. He was and I will absolutely point him out for it. He was a disgrace with the sheer stupidity that he showed in the last game. So I just
to add something to that, and you can go on. I'm hoping that moment for Michael Keane was very similar to the Ashley Williams moments at Burnley. If you remember a few years back where Williams got sent off and he never came back. He let the team down. Everton got beat that day, albeit not in a relegation battle, but he never came back. So just my little 2 cents there. I'm hoping that's the moment there.
Yeah, but we're left with these players that aren't good enough, and we pay them a lot of money. And my issue is, do these players then get you promoted again? So let me run a team by you: Begovic in goal, Mikalenko, Michael Keane, Jared Brantwaite, Seamus Coleman, John Joe Kenny, Nathan Patterson, because I don't think any of them will leave. Maybe Kenny won't get a new contract. So you got 2 of them, any of them. Tom Davies and I don't know, someone, because I would expect Alan and Decore to both go. So Tom Davies and someone.
Andre Gomez.
Andre Gomez. Then you've got a midfield three potentially in front of them of Anthony Gordon,
Andros Townsend.
I don't know who would play in the middle of that. And he won't be.
Alex Iwobi, yeah.
And then up front, you've got Rondon. Now, that team, in my opinion, is worse than the top 6 championship teams right now.
Yeah, you look at Fulham and what they're doing and how they're playing and scoring so many goals. And yeah, I think you're right. And then the flip side of that would be if that's the scenario, if what happens, and that's the team, is Frank Lampard then the right manager to lead that team up? Or should we, never mind should we look at someone who, albeit unpopular, has a history of bringing teams up?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now what I'm going to do, and this is probably going to go viral, and I'm probably going to get slagged off for it left, right, and centre, and I couldn't care less. I think Everton, if they want to stay up, I think they have to sack Frank Lampard, and that's not me digging him out. I like Frank. I absolutely like Frank, but I don't think he's the right man for the job right now. I think Frank will be a very, very good manager, but I don't think he's going to keep us in the Premier League.
But where do you go? So devil's advocate here, the news breaks now 6 p.m. on a Thursday evening. Everton have parted company with
you're gonna hate
Frank Lampard. No, I might not. I'm not here to hate him. I'm just saying.
Sam Allardyce walks in, all bells blazing, walks straight into Finch Farm right now. Straight up. He's. I don't want it, but if Everton Football Club go down, give me Sam Allardyce for 18 months to keep us up and stabilise us, or dropping down into the Championship where I'm watching Rondon for 42 games a season. Sam Allardyce all day, and that's where I am.
It kills me. It kills me. And you're not wrong, and that's why it kills me to know that.
It's horrible.
So we're going back to 2016, 2017. Let's go back nearly 5 years, where this football club had got it wrong and needed Sam to come in. We're worse now, and it kills me.
We are. My argument is, Sam Allardyce, with a team with no pace, managed to finish 8th. Now, I'm not a Sam Allardyce fan. I'm really not. Look, I'm not. But I actually don't see what other option we have if, as you say, and I think we are fucked. I don't see what other option we've got. And even at this point, with 9 games to go, or 10, whatever it is, it might not be enough with the fixtures we've got anyway. He might not get these wins.
I think if you're going to bring an Allardyce in, and again, I've said earlier on in the video, it was impossible to do so because of what was going on around the club.
Absolutely.
And they can only blame themselves for that, putting them in a situation. But if you were going to do that, it had to be earlier than this. It had, because Allardyce would not have lost last night. He would not have lost on Sunday when West Ham didn't get up to second gear. He wouldn't have lost at home to Wolves. There's numerous games there where you might just put another point on the board and it sees you safe. So I understand, as unpopular as it is, I completely get it. And I think it's too late now to change. I think it's too late. I think you've got to now at this point just give Lampard everything and just say, look, what can we do? What can we as a club do? Do you need something from us? Because FYI, if we go down, the lot of us are done.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm going to add, if Lampard stays, which, look, I haven't necessarily got an issue with, as I say, I've got nothing against Frank. If he stays and he doesn't get sacked and we go down, I think we genuinely need reassurances from the board that something will happen, where there is a plan. And I don't think it'll be one season. I think we'll be down there for at least 3. because of the financial element to it. We won't be able to build a squad after 2 or 3 years. Is he going to be given the time to do that in the Championship? Because he had, in my opinion, the best team in the Championship with Derby. He had Tamori, he had Mason Mount, he had some great players in that side. He didn't get them promoted. So I worry about the future. I want Frank to do well.
If Everton stay up, would you keep Lampard?
Yeah.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, because it's as you say right now. I think a lot of the damage has been done before Frank. I just think Frank hasn't got the experience to get out of it. I don't blame Frank pretty much for any of this. Yes, I can call out some of his tactics. Yes, you can call out some of his substitutions, but I can call them out on every manager. I said exactly the same about Ancelotti 12 months ago when we started getting beat every week. When we were,
how good did we have it?
And when I sit back and look at it now, Rafa Benitez walked into this club, dismantled a medical team, took away 2 of our most creative players. The other one is we all know what's happened to him, potentially. So I don't know what Frank could have done, but what I do know is we needed a centre half in January, and if the reason we didn't bring in a centre half in January is because Mr. Mashiri had to bring in El Ghazi to cover loans, wages, whatever that is.
To make sure that we brought money in for Lucas Dean.
Yeah, then I am categorically telling you now, Farhad Mashiri, and I put this tweet out last night, he is the worst thing that has happened in the history of this football club. And you could scrap the ground. I wouldn't care less. He is the worst
that
thing.
Will go. That will go. If the and you're right on what you're saying, I completely agree. But just to jump in, if any Evertonian thinks that grounds will happen if we go down, it won't. And there's a number of reasons for it, number of scenarios where it won't happen. The first one is obviously the cost.
Yeah.
Look, most Evertonians realise what's happened over in Ukraine and Russia and stuff. It's impacted us, unfortunately, in relation to our income, and it's only a small thing in the bigger picture. But we're talking football here. That's gone. That money is gone. It's never coming back now. If that Russian money ever comes back into the world, it's going to be a decade away. It's gone.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. The second reason is how viable would it be to even do that when we're so far in the red? It's not viable. And the third reason is, if we go down, he's hounded out. He doesn't stay. It will be, if Everton Football Club go down this season, if you think the 27 group and the hundreds of fans who walked around the ground and the fans who walked down at halftime and the fans who stayed after the Aston Villa game, if you think that was any sort of scene, and some do and some don't, wait till you see what will happen if this football club are relegated. It will. I can only imagine the scenes, and those scenes do not see this owner of the football club stay. They don't. So instantly, the football club is for sale, and he walks away, and you'll get an interim board who will just manage the day to day, and they'll try and sell the club. If Everton go down, that stadium does not happen.
Here's what happens if Farhad Mashiri leaves Everton. Then we go into administration immediately.
Can you imagine the scenes, Mike, if Everton go down? So imagine, we've got Crystal Palace on a Thursday night, the last home game of the season. If we're down at that point, tell me what will happen. Tell me what Goodison will look like. I know.
Yeah, but mate, honestly, the directors in that director's box won't turn up at that game. They won't turn up. They'll bottle it. They will not. There'll be riots. There'll be people on the pitch after the game. And what'll be even more of a disgrace, and you're right, honestly, if we go down and Farhad Mashiri pulls the plug, we are financially ruined because, and everyone's ready, we are over-reliant on Mr. Mashiri right now. Yeah. So he pulls the plug, and we haven't got an instant buyer like that. We're in administration. Like we are in deep shit. Like Like the deepest. Points deductions, not being able to operate because of the wages of the players that we're on. The parachute payments won't be anywhere near what we need for any of the plans. The stadium will go, absolutely go, because what people and me just remembering is, remember at the start they were saying that it was the money was alone covered by the Premier League TV rights. We won't even be a Premier League club. That's gone. So all of a sudden, this fantastic 52,000 seat stadium, which 3 years ago I was saying was too small, wasn't ambitious enough for us, all of a sudden it's a complete waste of arguably what's been put into it so far. 50 million. It is an absolute scandal what has happened with Everton, and going even further than that, we could end up like Portsmouth.
Very, very easily. Very easily. And the danger is now, if Farhad Moshiri walks away through whatever reason, albeit protest, or he just puts his hands up and goes, I don't see anybody to look at a club, whether it be a bottom half Premier League side, whether it be a Championship side, never mind the stadium that's 10% done or whatever. I don't see anybody looking at that and saying, I'll clear the debt, I'll buy it, I'll pay him off, and I'll invest. It's just not attractive. It's not attractive. And then what? We're stuck with Baxendale and Kenwright again. Is that it? Is that our existence?
There's two ways.
What? Honestly, what is the point?
There's two ways this can go. There's two ways. It can go the Leeds way. Administration, League One football, all of the assets sold. Mark Viduka, Alan Smith, Carrie Kuehl, Woodgate, all of their top players gone. Then they never get out the Championship for years. Or it can go the Villa way, where they go down, they restructure, they get a new investor, they come up. And I'm telling you, just because of Everton being Everton, I know which way it'll go.
100%. And it's, mate, we can talk on shows like this and we can try and, give our opinion. It's only an opinion, but it's fucking scary. It's absolutely scary. And we all have moments. Like I said before, I was saying I'm not going to game on Saturday, and I'm so pissed off with them. You can see my skin is like, I'm aging through the days watching Everton Football Club, and you must feel the same. Like, I feel so sorry for my little boy who's now going to grow up. And look, I grown up and seen Liverpool be more successful than Everton, but it's never been to this level where we can't even lay a glove. It's like this city now. It sounds horrible, but if you had a choice, who the fuck would you support? I've always been so proud of we're chosen. You do not choose. It's something I've always said. Yeah, Everton are chosen. We don't live in Norway and we don't pick our teams. We're chosen. It's special. I fucking know now. You're chosen because you wouldn't choose this. You just wouldn't. It's just misery, man. It's misery, and now I've never seen it. I've never thought it would be this bad. And we're staring into the abyss. And that's a line that Sky Sports had last night. I know that, but it was so true. It's on so many levels. We're staring into the abyss right now. And this is not an instant match reaction to Everton losing and us being ninth. This is a reaction to Everton with a run of fixtures coming up on our favourites to be relegated into the Championship with debts of £300+ million. It's the abyss, and I don't know what's next if it happens. I really don't.
Last question, and I'm sorry it's dragged on, but I feel like it's the last question.
Oh no, fine. Therapy. I owe you £55. Don't worry. 60-minute session.
What? Really hard question to ask, but
Oh, go on. Well, I can.
I want you to picture the 95th minute against Arsenal, and The whistle's just gone. What's your instant reaction if the worst happens?
Well, my first thought when you said that is it doesn't get to that point. I think we're gone before then, because I've looked at the fixtures for all three teams, and I discard Leeds now. So the three teams I've looked, based on our form and based on the likelihood of two experienced managers and teams elsewhere picking things up that Everton never can, which is the odd point here and there. I don't think it gets to that, but if the last game of the season, if the whistle blows, and I think the fans will be at Goodison Park. I think it'll be violent. I think it'll, and that's not me encouraging it. I can see it. I seen what happened, because I seen what happened in January when we knew what mess we were sort of getting ourselves into. When great people like the Bobber were informing fans of what was going on, and it was becoming more informative of Keir Jabachin and the influence he had, and Rafa Benitez was getting rid of really popular members of staff who were doing good jobs prior to this. And I think that this is not a football club. It goes down based on a lack of quality. It does to an extent, but it will go down thanks to mismanagement at the very, very, very top. And when our owner came in 2016, I think whether you're Blue Union or you're not, whether you're Kenwright or you're not, I think we all hoped for better. We all hoped that this would be
nothing would be the same, was the comment.
Nothing will be the same again. They put it on the season ticket slogans, and I think that maybe not the first summer, but certainly the second summer and the fourth summer, where we were investing in players and we were linked with players, and there was an excitement in the fifth summer where Carlo came in and we brought in, James Rodriguez, and everything was positive. And it was those small, short-sighted goals that the owner had that have killed us off now, because there was never a long-term plan. There was a plan in his first summer to bring in Ashley Williams and Yannick Bolasie and finish 8th. There was a plan in his second summer to back a director of football who's only ever been a chief scout. There was a plan third and fourth summer to back someone who had no experience of the English game and what it takes to do well. Then the fifth and sixth summer became a conflict between director of football and two managers, and here we are. So if Everton do go down, yes, it's a lack of quality. It will kill me. It will hurt. It will hurt so much. I don't know how I fall back in love with this football club, and that sounds shit because we're meant to grasp onto it. But like I said, it's in 1994 or in 1998, if that football club went down, you'd look and go, the team just weren't good enough. And yes, there's aspects of that. But this team, if they go down, the club will be absolutely goosed because of it. And the mismanagement at the top has caused that. And I just think the scenes will go worlds wide of what it would look like.
And
it's hard to say because you're that close to it now. You can see it.
You get oh,
it's tough, man. You can see it. You can touch it. It's that close now that you can see where you can see the road we've been down, and now we're looking at like we've been going down the wrong road for so long, and now you're just hitting that fucking concrete wall. And if you're traveling down the road at 70 miles an hour and you hit a concrete wall, do you survive? It's scary. It's horrible. And we've both got young kids and young boys who we want to love our football club, and people watching this may be similar. Well, you pass this on to your kids, and you feel so happy when you take your first picture in the Everton kit when they're a baby, and the first picture when they go to the game and all that. We're at risk of losing all of that, all of it, because of mismanagement at the football club. So if Everton go down, for me, There'll be anger, there'll be sadness, but it's something that, unfortunately, like John said at the start of the video, through you has been coming. Maybe we've not seen it, but we're here.
I said 2 years ago, I've said numerous times that I think I've even said this to you last summer. I actually think I said this as well. I said that it's not necessarily my generation, your generation of fans. You know, we probably, as maybe we won't agree at this now, but the first game of next season will probably be there. Doesn't matter whether we're playing Luton Town or Arsenal, we'll probably be there. But it's our kids that won't want to go. It's the next generation.
Yeah.
It's that's what's the danger. And you know, I sit here and I get emotional thinking about it, because I will drive to Goodison. Like, I will be there the night. I will absolutely be there. I will watch the game. I won't get a ticket for Arsenal because I want to be centrally, and I'll be up in Goodison in 2 hours, and I'll park outside somewhere, yellow lines, couldn't give a toss, wherever, and I'll just look at the ground. I'll just stare at it, because it's not the same. It's not the same. And I'll feel like there's a hole missing. There's already feels like there's a hole missing, but there will be a genuine hole, because nobody knows what's going to happen. And for the first time in my football fan career, it's I have no idea of the direction, but the only direction I can assume we're going is down, and that is horrendous. I feel empty. I feel broken. I feel aged. Everton is the only stress in my life. Everything else is brilliant. And the amount of comments I've had today from people saying, Mike, it's only football. You know, literally the comments from last night's reaction saying, God, Mike, you take it too much to heart. I have Nil Satis Nisi Optimum tattooed on my heart. It's there. And for me to have that, and for the players, the managers, the board to get rid of that football team in the way that I know it, is a disgrace. I hate them. I hate them.
It's not just a team, and this is the point. It's not just a team. The team, and again, the team deserve what they get because they haven't got a spine. There's no character there. That there's a lack of quality. They don't buy themselves. They don't. They just don't. There's just been so many things wrong with how we've come to this point. Alex Iwobi didn't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to go to Everton and sign myself. Michael Keane didn't. You know, Seamus Coleman didn't get to 33 and say, no one's replacing me. It's an absolute mess. It's been a mess for a long time. And there was band-aids and there was plasters going over it. I think it was a mess when Marco Silva got sacked, but we literally had a massive band-aid in the name of Carlo Ancelotti and the moments that we had where, you know, we beat Liverpool at Anfield and we were qualifying for Champions League right up until around March, April time, and all that done was disguise where we're going to get to. And I think Everton if you look back now, in that 2020 window, that was the last dice. That was the last dice where they said, we'll back Carlo. I was on this show in 2020. We didn't do the show at the time. You were very, very kind in inviting me on from Across the Park podcast. I remember doing a show with you in summer 20, and you said to me at the time, I think we're a little bit over FFP here. I'm not too sure how we've done these deals for Alan and Zakori, but albeit. So that was the dice. That was the dice. And when that team finished 10th, and then Everton spent £1.7 million after that, here's where we are.
Guys, I'm leaving it there. Millsy, thanks for coming on. This is what it's doing to me. No,
Mate, I'm the same.
I've got all
Mate,
this
I'm
amount
the
of
same.
things.
Mate, I am the same. Honestly, last night I went to bed, and it's not healthy. You go to bed with your missus, and she's trying to talk about your day and her day, and you fucking don't want to know, and it's horrible. It causes all sorts. Your kids want to talk to you.
I can't do it. Like I can't do it. I love this club. I know. I can't do it. I'll have to just support golf or Formula One properly, and the channel will change. We'll be doing what will we doing next season? Rugby on the Blue Boys Network next
No,
season.
I'm not going near any competitive sport. Let's do fishing or something.
Yeah, sound that works for me. But yeah,
The
yeah,
the Blue Carp Network next year.
the Blue Carp next year.
Patreon only. We'll make some money out of this.
Oh, guys, look, it's I would say it's been a pleasure, but it hasn't. It's always a pleasure speaking to Millsy, and it's a pleasure giving you content. But like many of you, and not the Liverpool fans that have absolutely ripped the shit out of us. I don't know about your videos and your podcast, but the amount of
I get
comments,
it, trust me. I get it, trust me.
the amount of comments I have had. I mean, the top performing website is WOCCOE, which is a Liverpool forum, and that's where the views from last night come from. So they've copied the link, they've taken the piss, they've gone, look at this lad, he's broken.
All you need to do is go on your settings and block the IP addresses from Norway. Done.
Brilliant. You know you've got a podcast called Across the Park, don't you? You know that.
I get it anyway, trust me. I get it anyway.
Oh, guys, look, we'll leave it there. I'm not ending with keep smiling and up the toffees. I'm not, because you're not smiling, and I don't think we're going up. So, yeah, peace.
Thanks, mate.